What's up, everybody? Welcome. Happy Friday. Coffee with a Killer. If this is your first time tuning in, what I do is I go through multiple different topics as it relates to entrepreneurship, a little bit of my story over the past decade working with people that are trying to get financially free. Just real quick before I dive into the topic today, can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure we're good on that. We had a little bit of an audio issue earlier. So just let me know real quick if you can hear me okay in the chat wherever you're watching from. YouTube, Facebook, Click Clack, TikTok. I'll check on my end as well.
Topic today. Can you guys hear me okay?
Looks like we're all right. So yeah, guys, happy Friday. We've had a lot going on. We are just knuckles deep, I almost said something else, knuckles deep in a lot of new projects and a lot of really cool things and tools for people like you that are kind of in your journey of getting financially free. One of them being, I have a new book coming out that I'm really excited about. It's called Havila Metals Banking, and it is just jam packed full of things that I've learned, not just about metals, but about algorithmic trading, passive income, the whole thing. So, what I want to talk about a little bit today is I want to talk about. I'm going to pull it up over here. I'm actually going to go through one of the chapters of this book. It's actually chapter 3. So, the Great Retirement Heist. And I know that that sounds dramatic. Somebody told me that the other day. Man, this chapter sounds dramatic. Maybe, maybe, but I think it's going to be a bit of an eye opener for you guys. Who's all watching live? Where are you guys tuning in from? So the Great Retirement Heist, how they stole your pension and then made you basically gamble for retirement. Okay, that's gonna be the topic. So, guys, your grandparents had pensions. You would work somewhere for 30 years. What happened is you would retire, and the company would be in charge of basically taking care of you for the rest of your life. Okay? That was how a pension worked. That was the standard. That was your reward for being loyal to the company for so long. Okay? Nowadays, people don't really stick around very much. You'll work somewhere for a year, a couple years. People kind of job hop. To combat that, you have this pension where, hey man, if you work here, if you're, a serious contributor to the company, there's a pension available. Okay? And we'll take care of you for the rest of your life. Okay? You guys don't have that for the most part. Very, 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 it's less than 10% has that. So you work at a company that will contribute a few percent, if you're lucky, to your 401k. Okay. Kiyosaki said this and kind of points this out. Ironically, the world is looking to the Federal Reserve and the US Treasury to solve our money problems, even though those institutions are causing the problems. What he meant by that is, we think of a 401k or really any sort of government subsidized program that's supposed to be giving you money. We look at that as a solution, but it's the government that created the problem in which you're trying to get a solution for. It's a little bit of circular reasoning here. Okay? So in 1978, the 70s were really big, guys. We had the gold heist, call it a gold heist. Nixon in 71 took us off the gold standard. And then in 78, there was actually an accident that happened. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about here. So this wasn't by design. It was not meant to be a replacement for pensions. It was literally an accident. But if you're going to understand why the 401k became what it did, you got to really kind of understand the concept here. So Kiyosaki actually explains this in his book Conspiracy of the Rich. It's one of my top 2 Kiyosaki books. He says in 1971, after President Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard, the rules of money changed. You guys have heard me talk about that a million times. Today, money is no longer money. So that's kind of his first rule. So we had that massive push in 71. We get away from the gold standard. Now everything's kind of whimsical. We can print whatever we want. But Congress Congress passed the Revenue Act of 1978, which included a tiny provision, Section 401k. That's where a 401k comes from, provision 401k. Okay? So it allowed employees to defer compensation from bonuses or stock options without paying taxes immediately. Okay? About a page and a half long. So here's what happened. Ted Benna. Anybody ever heard that name? Ted Benna. He was a benefits consultant. He kind of identified this opportunity. So he realized that Section 401k could be reinterpreted to allow employees to save for retirement on a tax-deferred basis, with employers potentially matching contributions. Keyword here is potentially. He pitched it to his employer and created the first 401k in 1980. Okay? So he was called the father of 401ks, and this is kind of what happened. He became horrified over what the 401k turned into. You just following me? The dude was literally, he was mortified, horrified. And he literally said it was never designed to be what it is today. This is a direct quote from him. It became he was very disturbed. So even the guy that admitted it claims that it was never supposed to turn into what it is now. So 1983, 3 years after the first 401k was created, nearly half in 3 years of all large firms adopted the 401k. Okay, why the rush? We've been doing exactly what we've been doing for years. 50, 60, 70, however long pensions were around. Why the rush? Why would almost half or more than half go to a 401k in just a couple years? Corporations realized that they'd just been handed the greatest cost-cutting tool in history. So what pensions cost companies, just so we're all on the same page here, it's a guaranteed payment for life. The company had to estimate how long retirees would live, and they had to set aside that amount of money to cover potentially decades of expenses. Imagine a company has 300 employees. You have 300 people that you're going to calculate how long they're going to live, what those expenses would be, then you need to set that money aside. Imagine the hundreds of thousands, the millions of dollars that would cost. Kind of terrifying, right? So there was an investment risk as well. If the pensions fund, they'd put that money in a fund, not just their bank account. They'd have a fund. If those investments underperformed, the company had to make up the difference, and all of the risk was on the employer. There was ongoing liabilities. Pensions showed up as liabilities on their balance sheets. So imagine, they've got stockholder meetings, they've got investors, they've got the whole thing. At the stock meeting, man, here's a big red mark on our portfolio. That would be the pension. You think that was a positive for investors or a negative for investors? It was a negative. You guys still with me? Making sense so far? 401k solved all these problems for corporations. It just did. It solved the problem. No guarantee of payment. Companies contributed a percent of the salary, not all of it, a small percent, if they even contributed at all, and they walk away. No lifetime obligation, ever, period. Zero risk. No ongoing liability. See the problem here? So 1980, 38% of workers had a pension, 8% had a 401k. A couple of years later. 2008, 20% of workers had a pension and 31% had a 401k. So in less than 30 years, we went from the default to it was almost extinct. Kind of terrifying, right? So here was the sales pitch. Portability. You can take your 401k anywhere. If you change your jobs, isn't that great? Translation, companies no longer have to reward loyalty. I don't have to be, Josh, you don't have to be loyal anymore. Isn't that wonderful?
It's great. Great news.
Great news. You can take your 401k. I pay you quite a bit into your 401k, right?
Yeah, it's like 20% match, I think.
20% match. So it's portable. You don't have to be loyal to any company anymore. I don't have the statistics here, but if you guys want to pull them up at some point, look at the employee churn since 1980. I guarantee you churn has just skyrocketed. Take it with you. You can job hop every couple of years. You can and never vest in a real pension. Control. You get to choose your own investment. Now, you guys think that a factory worker, no offense if you work at a factory, do you think a factory worker is going to make great investment decisions for their retirement? You think they know anything about stocks and bonds and all of that? No. They're kind of guessing, right? Pick the wrong stock, the wrong retirement during a crash. That's on you, baby. Not on the company anymore. Employer matching. Your employer may match your contributions. Translation, they'll contribute 3 to 6% of your salary instead of funding a full pension. Think of it like this. Let's just say that your number is $500,000 for a pension. They only have to contribute maybe 3 to 6% of that versus having 500K. You imagine how much hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not millions upon millions of dollars these guys are saving. Tax advantages, it's tax deferred. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. Translation, you're deferring taxes into a future where rates might be higher, and you're giving the government an IOU that they can change the terms anytime. You guys know that the terms aren't set, right? So let's just say you started your 401k 20 years ago, and then tax rates change or your income changes and you jump into a higher tax bracket. You are just screwing yourself. Okay? So you have to pay a massive amount of taxes when you go to redeem your 401k. Okay? There's a couple bull market runs, 1980s, 1990s, that made the 401k look amazing. Anybody remember that? Anybody alive for that? I was barely alive I was not alive. Barely alive in the 80s. Don't remember in the 90s. People watch their balances grow. Everyone is excited. They discovered the key to true wealth. I'm just going to put money into this doggone 401k. Then you got 2001, the dot-com crash. Trillions of dollars were evaporated. You have 2008, the financial crisis. Trillions more evaporated. People are just getting screwed left and right. Okay? So when I talk about these things, most people think, man, this just sounds like this one gigantic conspiracy. That's why I'm providing, especially in this book, I'm providing all of the data for you guys. You guys can go fact check it. But you've got to realize that this was not intentional, right? If somebody creates something and it is used entirely in a different fashion, and that person comes out and say, hey, that's not what I meant. That's not how it was intended to be. You should believe that. You should believe the person that invented it. It's not being used how it was designed. Okay? You've got to understand that companies are getting the better end of the deal here. You are getting screwed. You got screwed. We screwed people when we got off the gold standard. We could just flood the market with fake liquidity. We screwed people on this, 1980 something. What was that? 1980, early 1980s. I'm sorry, 1978. We were just screwing people, and it's continued, and it will continue. So part of beating the system is understanding the system. If you don't understand the system, you have no chance of beating it. Let me know if you guys have thoughts on this. Again, just kind of a quick topic here. Try to understand how you got screwed in this situation. Now, does that mean that you should, cancel your 401k or I'm not saying that. As long as you understand that anything can happen to that 401k. I got family members that, within a year of their retirement date, what happened was they lost their retirement. Something unforeseen happened, something that they never could have imagined happened, and they lost their retirement. Okay? You are literally gambling. And it's not your employer that's going to get screwed. They're going to get screwed 2%. You're getting screwed 100%. Any questions on that before I jump off? There's one other thing I want to just cover here real quick. Do you guys know what would have incentivized the government and some of these wealth advisors, why they would push a 401k. Does anybody have any idea? 2025. As of 2025, Americans hold 9.3 trillion in 401k plans. Okay? Total retirement assets, including IRAs and other, it's 45 trillion. So we hold 34% of all household financial assets in America, 401k. Where did that money go? Where is that money now? Does anybody know? There's a couple people still watching. Where's the money? Where's the money, Josh?
Nobody knows. Money's fake.
Well, yes. Stocks, U.S. stocks, U.S. bonds, U.S. mutual funds, assets managed by Wall Street, right? We flooded the stock market with trillions of dollars and forced long-term capital. You guys know that you can't withdraw from your 401k without a penalty. It was forced to be in there for 30, 40, 50, however old you are. So we just added trillions of liquidity to the US stock market that is going to have to be there for 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, imagine getting a loan that you don't have to repay back for 30, 40, 50 years. Every paycheck, millions of Americans automatically contribute to their 401k. It's out of sight, out of mind. Most people don't even understand their paycheck. So you're contributing, every single month, you're contributing more and more and more money that is all on this plan. That money is going to flow into the stock market, whether it's up or down. The long-term capital, you can't get it till you're 59 and a half. Captive capital is what they call it. Just had a heated disagreement the other day about the 401k. Yeah. When this book comes out, you should give it to them. I'm kind of glazing over some of the key facts here, but guys, this is not my opinion. This is documented history that happened. Okay? Numbers don't lie. 49% of Americans aged 55 to 66 have zero retirement savings. So after decades of working, they literally have nothing. The median 401k balance for workers that are between the age of 55 and 64 is about $207,000. That's good, right? $207,000. Using the 4% withdrawal rule, that generates about $8,280 per year. I was going to ask Josh, can any of you guys live on $8,000 a year? I get Social Security, Jordan. Okay, that's another $1,800 a month. So you're trying to live on $30,000 a year. For me, that's 3 months worth of my expenses. I have about $10,000 a month in expenses. It's high. Okay? It's not good, guys. That's not good. You guys realize, the math don't math. This doesn't make sense. 4% rule, what the hell is that? Fine print, go read it in your 401k. It's not enough money to live, okay? Even if you hyper fund it, even if you put in more money and more money from your paycheck, even if your company decides to go from 4% match to 5% match, it's not going to be enough money, okay? It's not even outpacing inflation. So who benefited? I'll wrap up with this. Who benefited? Corporations, they shed trillions in pension liabilities. Their balance sheets looked cleaner, so they got more investment money from partners and capital partners. Their stock prices shot up. The CEOs got a massive bonus, okay? Some of these guys, it was hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses because now we don't have to support our employees. Wall Street also benefited, 9.3 trillion in its captive assets that they're going to manage. Fees on fees, even a 0.5% annual fee on 9.3 trillion is $46.5 billion in fees is what they generated. This is why they don't want you to withdraw, right? G. Edward Griffin, one of my favorite authors, the author from Creature from Jekyll Island, he said this: Federal Reserve operates as a banking cartel, not a government agency. It's designed to eliminate competition and guarantee profits for major banks, period. The system socializes losses through taxpayer-funded bailouts and inflation while privatizing its profits. What the heck does that mean? The Fed, the 401k, the stocks, like all of these people are benefiting. All of these people are able to do things that you and I are not allowed to do legally, but they get to do it, and they get to do it with your money. The second we were able to, we took my wife's 401k, we converted it to a self-directed IRA. Okay, I at least have control over where that money is going. And I've invested it fairly wisely. I had a 401k with company match at my company. As soon as I quit, I took the penalty. It was a couple grand. I put that money to work. Like, I'm not going to wait until I'm 59. Who knows if you're even going to live to 59 and a half. That's all I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think. Again, this is part of, I'm just glossing over this really quickly. It's one of the chapters to my new book that's coming out here potentially within the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited for you guys to read it so that you understand the backstory and what is actually happening so that you can start to build wealth. Appreciate you guys. If you have not done so, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Give this video a like. After I'm done, go back to the video and just leave a quick comment. It'll boost the ratings. It'll help more people. I do this show for free. I do it for free because I want to help people become more aware. And ultimately, my calling is to help people get financially free. Okay? Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next week on Friday.